This is the 14-foot Mod V setup with a 6-horsepower Mariner motor and a galvanized trailer. First thing I want to do is get these floors out and then just get everything that's attached to the boat all around it off it. That way the boat can be prepped and ready for paint. Pretty much the front area completely done. All the wiring's out, all the wiring's out here. It's a jumbled tangle of wiring here. It's all got to get trashed. It has now been fully disassembled and vacuumed out. Overall, I think it's looking like a pretty good platform to build on. In the next video, I'm going to be taking it out of the garage, checking for leaks, and getting on to the next prep. It is time to get this thing cleaned up and see what we're working with. The other main thing I'm going to be tackling today is leak testing. Basically wash the whole boat and then fill up about 1 inch or 2 of water. Just let me know if there's any really big hidden problems to deal with, or if it's just like minor leaky rivets, in which case we're just going to tighten them up, and then both the top and the bottom are going to be sealed up with some epoxy. My wife turned me onto this stuff. It's apparently from the dollar store. It's called Totally Awesome. It's a really good detergent. So I'm going to spray the whole boat down with this and then give it a power wash. So far everything looks really good. I didn't find any surprises. I'm going to back the boat down a little bit more so we're more flat here. Plug the back, fill this up with a couple inches of water, and then check the floor to see if we're getting any leaks on the bottom. I'm going to go into there with a permanent marker, mark them off, and then we'll know what we need to work with and fix. So I just went through and checked all the rivets underneath the boat. Overall, not bad at all. I saw maybe 3 leaking rivets, which from the condition of this boat, actually kind of surprised. I'm going to go ahead and drain the boat, let it dry out here for a little while, and then pull it in, and we'll be moving on to the next stage of the build. For today's video, I'm showing you how to tighten down rivets using an air gun. This is the best and most efficient way of sealing rivets so they don't leak on your aluminum boat. There's a lot of different ways you can seal up rivets, and most of them revolve around plugging up the holes with like epoxy or something like that. But if you want to fix the actual problem, you got to tighten your rivets. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that with a very cheap and simple tool. This air gun I purchased at Harbor Freight for roughly, I don't know, 10 bucks or so. And this has worked on multiple boats, tightening down the rivets. There's basically 2 different types of rivets you need to know about. The first is pop rivets. That's what you're probably most familiar with. They use a tool like this. You put the shank in the tool, you squeeze it a bunch of times, and it pulls the shank out and seals your rivet. These are really good if you're building framing and stuff like that, but for more structural uses of rivets, you want to use what's called a solid rivet. The rivets on the side of the boat are solid rivets. This is one solid piece of aluminum that gets pressed from each side, so it literally squishes together and joins the aluminum together. When your boat starts leaking, these rivets start to loosen up. This can happen from vibration of the motor, it can happen from impacts, it can happen from a variety of reasons. So when you're trying to seal the leaks in your John boat, the first place you want to tackle is the rivets. For this boat here, I already did a water test earlier in the video. We've identified which rivets are leaking. So now I'm going to go through and tighten up not only the leaking rivets, but the rivets surrounding the leaking rivets. In my opinion, those are going to be the next ones to start to loosen up. To tighten down rivets, you can do a couple different ways. One way is using a sledgehammer and then actually another sledgehammer on the back side of the rivet. You can tap it in and then that will what's called rebuck the rivet, where it squishes it down some. That works pretty well, but it's really labor intensive and it doesn't always work the best. The correct tool for this is using an air gun. I have another full video demonstrating how to use this, so I'm not going to go too in depth, but essentially you put the air gun on the head side of the rivet like that, and then when you squeeze the trigger, this will rapidly compress the rivet. And then as you push those two together, it tightens the rivet and closes your leak. All right, so no matter which method you use, you're gonna need a partner to brace the backside of the rivet. To do that, one person needs to put the sledgehammer on top of the rivet and then press down. That way, when you're either hammering or using the air hammer from the underside, it doesn't just bounce off the boat and it actually compresses the rivet. Okay, so we're gonna start with this rivet here, and then we're just gonna go back and forth on all of them. Okay, you got it braced well?
Ready.
All right, let's try it out. So you got the backside one now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, you ready?
Ready.
All right, so like I said, I have a full video dedicated exactly how to do this in detail. If you guys want to check it out, I'll throw a link in the description. I really go over the entire process step by step, over the tools, how to get everything all set up. Everything has been rebucked. I did the whole front here. The middle actually looked really good on the inside. I didn't notice any impacts. There weren't any leaks originally, but I didn't mess with any of those rivets. And then the back didn't have any leaks either, but I thought that it was important to get this all tightened up anyway. And this is where the main, flexing of the boat's gonna happen. So I just went through and rebucked all the rivets that I could on the flange here, the brace, this brace here, and got that all set up. Now that that's all complete, the next step in sealing this boat up is gonna be to flip it over and get the bottom surface prepped for epoxy. That's gonna be in the next video. So if you guys wanna follow along with the John boat build, don't forget to subscribe. I'm gonna take you guys step by step in this full boat's restoration. Thanks for watching. All right, so these are just some random thoughts I'm having right now. I'm debating on whether or not I want to cut into these benches and remove all the waterlogged foam. I'm really hesitant to paint an epoxy with all of the water under the benches here. So what I'm thinking is cutting out some access ports on each side of the center bench support. I want to leave this section in because it's also going to get braced with that really thick 1/4-inch aluminum. So I'm still going to have the seats mounted in the center of the boat. And I think cutting into these benches here is going to be a smart idea. I'm going to be replacing this foam in the bench with foam under all the flooring. We shouldn't be losing any flotation, but I do think it's going to be better for the health of the boat in the long run. I also want to do the same thing to the back bench here. I'm going to be doing EVA foam throughout the entire boat. So I want to make sure that whatever I do, it's going to play well with foam. This only being a 1437, I'm not going to have tremendous stability. So I'm not really trying to build a very high floor anywhere. I am going to be using this front area here mainly as storage. Probably build off the floor here and then come out maybe to this rib here, make that a nice section of storage. The main thing I'm wrestling with is whether or not I want to dig out the foam in these benches. If they weren't wet, I wouldn't care, but it is just so hard to get them dry. It's been like a week and a half now. It's like I'll take the air hose and I'll blow out the channel and it just gets water all the way through it. And I'll clean it all up, I'll blow it out again, and my only guess is that the foam is so waterlogged, it's just letting out water as it sits here. And I mean, you can see in here, it's not looking good in there. So I do think it would be a benefit to dig them out. I just don't know if I want to go through the effort.